The Galactic Council chamber was filled with voices, laughter, and the cold glitter of alien eyes. Representatives from dozens of star systems sat in their high seats, their robes heavy with power, their words sharp like knives. They were discussing Earth again. It had become a habit among them. Earth was the smallest voice in the galaxy, a planet divided by borders and wars, still healing from its past. To the mighty empires, Earth was nothing more than a weak world. Humans are fragile, one reptilian envoy hissed, his long tongue flicking as he laughed. They cannot even unite their own planet, how can they matter in the galaxy? The chamber filled with chuckles, deep booming laughs, and mocking clicks from insect-like mouths. Earth was not seen as dangerous. It was seen as a joke. They remembered how Earth had begged for a place in the council, how its small ships struggled to reach the outer colonies, and how its diplomats wore second-hand robes borrowed from older allies. To the great empires, humanity was a child pretending to play in a war of giants. Yet, one figure did not laugh. At the far edge of the chamber, the human ambassador sat silently. He wore no crown, no glowing jewels, no armor of status. His face was calm, his eyes steady, and his mouth curved in the smallest smile. The council mocked Earth, but the ambassador did not rise in anger. He simply listened. And he waited. One avian diplomat spread his wings wide and cried out for all to hear. Let us cut Earth from our trade routes. Let us stop feeding their weakness with charity. Their planet is full of noise, their people fight among themselves, and they lack the discipline to stand with us. If they fall, who will even notice? The chamber echoed with agreement. Many nodded, their jeweled necklaces shaking with every move. Some demanded that Earth should even be forbidden from building more ships. Let them stay in their cage, an insectoid delegate said, its mandibles clicking. Humans are only dangerous to themselves. The laughter rose louder. But still, the ambassador said nothing. He sat in his chair, hands folded, his expression calm. A few in the chamber noticed this silence. They had seen humans before, had studied their history, and they did not like the smile on his face. Humanity was weak, yes, but history showed something else. When humans were mocked, when they were cornered, when they were pushed to the edge, they did not break. They changed. And when they changed, they became dangerous. One older council member, a gray-skinned being with heavy eyes, leaned forward. His voice was low, but it carried across the room. Do not underestimate Earth. Their silence may be a shield. Their weakness may be a mask. Have you forgotten what they did to themselves in the last century? They burned their own skies, and yet they survived. Be careful. The laughter stopped for a moment, but soon it returned, louder than before. The warnings were drowned out. Earth was declared irrelevant, a footnote in the story of the galaxy. The council prepared to vote. Would Earth be cut off? Would its people be abandoned to struggle alone? The ambassador finally rose. The hall grew quiet, not because of respect, but because of curiosity. What could this human possibly say? His voice was calm, steady, and filled with something the others could not place. Not anger. Not fear. Something colder. You think Earth is weak, he said. You think we are divided. You think we are children playing in a war we do not understand. Perhaps that is true. But you have made one mistake. You laughed too early. Murmurs spread across the chamber. The ambassador's eyes narrowed, and his small smile sharpened into something darker. You have no idea what sleeps beneath Cleveland. Confusion broke out instantly. Many aliens turned to one another, whispering, asking questions. Cleveland. A city. A place on Earth. What could be hidden there? To most of the galaxy, Earth cities were nothing more than clusters of lights and factories, places filled with people who dreamed too big for their small world. But the ambassador spoke with certainty, as if Cleveland held a secret the galaxy was not ready to hear. Before anyone could ask, he sat back down, folding his hands once more, his silence returning. The chamber filled with unease. The laughter did not return so quickly now. Some diplomats whispered that the human was bluffing. Others wondered if Earth had hidden weapons, ancient machines, or lost technologies buried under their soil. The name, Cleveland, echoed like a ghost in the chamber, strange and heavy. The council moved forward with its vote, but not all were laughing now. Some glanced at the human ambassador with worry. Some thought about the strange histories of Earth, the stories of hidden bunkers and forgotten wars. They remembered how humans, even in their darkest times, always found something hidden, something unexpected. And in the quiet corner of the chamber, the ambassador smiled once again. It was the smile of a man who knew something the galaxy did not. It was the smile of a predator among prey. Outside, stars burned silently, and Earth spun slowly in its orbit, waiting. Deep below the surface of Cleveland, something stirred, something massive and ancient, something built not for peace, but for war. The galaxy laughed at Earth's weakness. But soon, they would not laugh at all. Cleveland looked like any other human city. Towers of glass and steel rose above the streets, people hurried to work, traffic lights blinked red and green, and the river carried ships past silent factories. To the eye, it was nothing special, just another piece of Earth. Yet under the surface, something different was happening, something no outsider could see. In orbit, alien surveillance ships scanned the city again and again. Their commanders had not forgotten the words of the human ambassador. Cleveland. Why Cleveland? What was buried there? Reports soon arrived at the council. Strange bursts of energy had been detected deep below the ground, energy that was not nuclear, not chemical, not anything the aliens could explain. One report said the energy pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and powerful, rising stronger each week. It must be human error, one alien officer suggested. Perhaps a faulty reactor, perhaps primitive mining machines. Another disagreed. No reactor produces signals like this. Something is alive down there. The word spread quickly, and soon the name Cleveland was whispered in military halls across the galaxy. On Earth itself, the people of Cleveland lived their lives in silence. They noticed things, of course. The ground trembled faintly at night, windows shook as if a train passed underground though no train existed. Strange sounds echoed through the sewers, deep metallic groans like iron shifting in its sleep. But when locals asked questions, officials told them nothing was wrong. Power stations explained it as normal vibrations. Construction crews said it was maintenance. Yet old families in Cleveland remembered different stories. They remembered their grandparents whispering about secret tunnels dug under the city during the last great wars. They remembered warnings never to go too deep into the abandoned factories, never to listen too closely when the earth rumbled. Among themselves they spoke a phrase, "The dragons are stirring." Aliens, however, were not satisfied with silence. They wanted answers. 2 spies were sent from a nearby trade station. Disguised as human workers, they walked the streets, gathering information. They tried to enter restricted zones near the old steel mills, but human guards stopped them, eyes sharp and unfriendly. The spies attempted to bribe, but the guards only laughed coldly and said, "Not here. Not ever." One night the spies slipped into the storm drains, following the strange vibrations underground. Hours later, their trackers went dark. Their bodies were never found. Only a single message was transmitted before the signal was cut. One word. Roar. When the council received this report, fear spread like fire. What could roar under a city? What could make alien spies vanish without a trace? Still, many leaders told themselves it was only rumor. Earth was weak. Cleveland was just a city. Nothing more. But then came the tremor. It began on a quiet night. Citizens of Cleveland were asleep when a sound like thunder rolled through the streets. Windows cracked, car alarms screamed, and dogs howled at the sky. People woke in panic, rushing outside to see what had happened. The ground shuddered again, stronger this time, and a wave rippled across the river as if the water itself was afraid. Above the planet, alien sensors screamed warnings. The energy pulse had exploded in strength, no longer quiet, no longer hidden. It beat like a drum, loud enough to shake the stars. Panic spread in the orbital ships. It is not a reactor. It is not human error. It is something else. Something awakening. Down below, in the deepest tunnels of Cleveland, old machines began to stir. Massive doors of iron, sealed for generations, groaned as locks the size of buildings twisted open. Dust fell like rain, and shadows stretched across forgotten hangars. Within those hangars, shapes moved. Giant shapes. Metal wings scraped against the walls, tails curled like serpents, and eyes of fire flickered open one by one. The dragons were real. For centuries they had slept, hidden beneath Cleveland, built in silence, waiting for the day they would be needed. Now the day had come. On the surface, the people did not yet see the truth. They only felt the rumbling grow stronger, the air vibrating as if a storm was trapped underground. Children clung to their parents, and old men whispered the same words as before. The dragons are stirring. In space, the alien commanders argued. Some demanded immediate retreat, warning that Cleveland hid weapons beyond imagination. Others laughed nervously, pretending nothing was wrong, but their laughter was thin and hollow. The reports continued to arrive, and the truth became harder to deny. Something vast, something ancient, was moving under the city. In the council chamber far away, the name Cleveland no longer caused laughter. It caused silence. Leaders who once mocked Earth now studied maps of Ohio with serious faces, tracing rivers and streets with shaking claws. They wanted to know what humans had built, and why they had kept it secret. And in his private quarters, the human ambassador simply waited. He had said only one sentence before, and now the galaxy began to understand. Beneath Cleveland, the dragons were not sleeping anymore. The ground shivered one last time, harder than before, and somewhere deep below the earth, a metallic roar echoed upward, rattling the city like glass. It was not the sound of an accident. It was the sound of awakening. Night settled over Cleveland like a heavy blanket. The streets were quiet, but under the silence the city trembled. People felt it in their bones, a slow deep shaking that rattled glasses on tables and sent ripples through water. Some thought it was an earthquake. Others thought it was construction. But the oldest voices whispered again and again, "The dragons are coming." Far above, alien fleets watched with growing fear. Their scanners detected massive movement under the ground, movement larger than any human building. Energy surged upward, a wave so strong it disrupted their instruments. One officer shouted, "Something is rising. It's not natural. It's not human scale." His commander snapped back, "Then what is it?" Down below, the ancient doors finally gave way. Dust exploded outward as steel locks broke apart like brittle bones. From the darkness came the first sound, a grinding metallic roar that echoed through tunnels like thunder. Then came the light. A pair of eyes blazed open, burning orange like molten fire. The first dragon had awakened. Slowly, its massive head rose, shaped like a predator yet made of armored metal. Its body stretched out, scales forged from steel plates, wings folded tight against its sides. Each wing was longer than city streets, glowing with lines of fire that pulsed like veins. When it opened its jaws, a furnace burned inside, a weapon of flame waiting to be unleashed. For centuries this machine had slept, hidden away, designed in silence by human minds that knew one day Earth would be mocked, invaded, or betrayed. Now that day had come, and the dragon answered. On the surface, the ground split open. Roads cracked apart, and concrete flew into the air as a massive hangar door lifted from beneath the earth. People screamed and ran, pointing at the rising shadow. The dragon pushed upward, its wings unfolding for the first time in generations. Buildings shook as the air trembled with its movement. It rose slowly at first, then faster, climbing into the night sky with a roar that shattered windows for miles. The citizens of Cleveland looked up in awe and terror. Some fell to their knees, others raised their arms as if to worship. Children cried, but old men smiled through their tears, whispering, "It's true. The dragons are real." In orbit, the alien fleets saw it too. At first they could not believe their eyes. "It's a machine," one shouted. "No, it's alive," another argued. The confusion spread, but no answer came. It looked alive, but its armor gleamed with human engineering. Its wings flared with plasma fire, leaving trails of glowing light as it climbed higher. One commander demanded an immediate strike. Missiles launched, racing toward the dragon. But before they could land, the dragon's wings pulsed with a surge of energy, and the missiles fell dead from the sky, their systems fried by invisible power. Gasps filled the alien ships. "That's impossible," one officer cried. "Humans do not have this technology." But the proof was right before them. The dragon opened its jaws wide, and from its throat poured a beam of fire hotter than any star engine. The beam struck the nearest alien cruiser, slicing through shields and metal as if it were paper. The cruiser exploded in seconds, scattering burning pieces across the night sky. Panic erupted in the fleet. Ships turned, weapons aimed, but fear spread faster than orders. The dragon roared again, the sound not just noise but a wave of pressure that shook every hull, making seasoned pilots grip their controls with trembling hands. Down below, the people of Cleveland stood in silence now. Their city had birthed something no one outside had believed. They did not fully understand what it was, but they knew what it meant. Earth was no longer helpless. Earth had dragons. The alien commander screamed at his crew, demanding more fire, demanding retreat, demanding anything at all. But nothing worked. Every shot was deflected, every missile destroyed, every maneuver outpaced. The dragon moved with the grace of a living beast and the power of a warship, a predator born for the sky. More sensors lit up. In other parts of the city, more hangars trembled, more signals awoke. The first dragon was not alone. It was only the beginning. Across the council, messages arrived in rapid bursts. Reports of Cleveland, reports of fire, reports of ships destroyed by something that should not exist. Leaders who had mocked Earth sat in silence now, their arrogance stripped away, their fear growing with every word. The human ambassador, far away, did not speak. He simply listened, his face calm, his eyes steady. He had warned them. They had not listened. And now the galaxy would see the truth. The first dragon circled above Earth, its wings cutting through the clouds, its fire lighting the night. It did not hide, it did not whisper. It declared war in the loudest voice possible, a roar heard across the stars. The aliens had laughed at Earth. Now they were burning. And the galaxy was only beginning to learn what humanity had kept hidden under Cleveland. The night sky above Earth was no longer peaceful. It burned with fire and shattered metal as the first dragon rose higher, its wings cutting through the dark like blades of light. In orbit, the alien fleet gathered in tight formation. Thousands of ships surrounded Earth, their commanders laughing hours ago, but now their voices shook with fear. The first dragon had already destroyed one of their cruisers with a single breath. Now it circled the skies, daring them to fight. The alien commander shouted orders. "Close ranks. Surround the beast. It cannot be stronger than us." His words sounded brave, but his eyes betrayed him. He had seen what the creature could do. Missiles launched in swarms, glowing trails streaking toward the dragon. But the dragon twisted in the air with impossible speed, its massive body moving like a shadow of smoke. The missiles chased, but its wings flared, and every weapon fell dead, their systems burned out by invisible energy. The dragon turned, its jaws opening wide, and a river of fire poured out. Alien ships exploded one after another, each one lit like a torch before shattering into fragments. Down below, the people of Cleveland stood in their streets, watching the sky blaze with unnatural colors. They had no weapons to help, but they did not run. They watched with awe as their protector fought above them. Many wept openly, realizing the secret their world had hidden for so long. The aliens had believed Earth was weak. But the truth now spread across every star. Earth had prepared for this day. And Cleveland had been the nest. More tremors shook the city. The ground cracked open again as another hidden hangar rose. From the depths came the second dragon, larger than the first, its wings shimmering with blue energy. The citizens gasped as it took flight, its roar blending with its brothers above the clouds. The alien fleet panicked. "There are 2 of them," one officer screamed. "How many more?" No one could answer. The scanners lit up with more signals under the city, under the rivers, under the mountains. Cleveland was not the only nest. The world was waking. The second dragon climbed into orbit, its blue fire lashing across the enemy lines. Ships broke formation, some trying to escape, others frozen in fear. The alien commander slammed his fist against the controls, demanding his ships to fight. But his voice could not erase the truth. Their weapons were useless, their shields paper-thin, and their courage fading fast. In the council chambers across the galaxy, the news arrived in waves. Images of the dragons, recordings of their fire, reports of fleets being torn apart. Silence filled the great hall where once they had laughed at Earth. No one laughed now. Some whispered that the humans had uncovered ancient alien weapons. Others claimed the dragons were living creatures shaped by forbidden science. But one truth stood clear: Earth was no longer weak. The battle above Earth grew louder. Alien ships tried to flee into deeper space, but the dragons hunted them down. Their wings carried them faster than any engine, their roars struck fear deeper than any weapon. One dragon tore through a battleship with its claws, ripping metal apart as if it were paper. Another sent a beam of fire through 3 ships at once, cutting them in half in a single strike. The sky was a storm of fire and death, and Earth stood below, untouched. In the command center of Cleveland, hidden deep underground, human officers watched the battle unfold. Their faces were calm, their hands steady as they guided the awakening. One commander spoke into the comms, his voice cold. "The dragons have taken flight. Earth is no longer prey. Now the galaxy will understand." The first alien flagship tried to stand against them, its cannons firing with desperate power. But the first dragon dove down, wings folded, fire blazing from its jaws. The flagship cracked open in a single strike, its pieces raining into the atmosphere like burning stars. The people below cheered as the flames lit the night. Humanity had never felt so small and so powerful at the same time. More dragons awoke across the world. Reports came from mountains in Asia, deserts in Africa, hidden hangars under the oceans. Cleveland had been the first nest, but it was not the last. Earth itself was alive with dragons, a planet once mocked now revealed as a fortress. The alien fleet broke apart. Some ships fled, others were destroyed, and a few tried to surrender. But the dragons showed no mercy. They hunted the invaders until the skies were clear. When the last ship exploded in silence, the world was changed forever. The people of Earth looked upward, no longer afraid of the galaxy, no longer ashamed of weakness. Their secret was out, and their strength had been shown. The ambassador in the Galactic Council finally spoke again. His voice was calm, steady, and heavy with truth. "You mocked us," he said. "You called us fragile, you called us weak. But now you have seen what we keep hidden. You have seen the dragons of Earth. And this is only the beginning." The council chamber trembled with fear. Across the galaxy, every empire realized the same truth. The humans had never been defenseless. They had been waiting. And now, with Cleveland's dragons in the sky, the war for respect had only just begun. The galaxy had fallen into silence. Reports of fire and death circled every star system. The great fleets that once mocked Earth were shattered. Images of dragons filled the screens of 1,000 worlds. Leaders who once laughed at humanity now sat frozen, their pride burned away by fear. Across space, whispers grew. Where did the dragons come from? How could humans, so young and fragile, build monsters of fire and steel? In the Galactic Council, no one dared to speak first. All eyes turned to the human ambassador. He stood slowly, his movements calm, his face unreadable. His voice carried across the chamber, steady as stone. "You asked where the dragons came from. I will tell you." The chamber grew tense. Every delegate leaned forward, eager and afraid. The ambassador's gaze swept the room. After centuries of war, After centuries of being told we were weak, we learned a truth. We could not match your fleets. We could not match your technology. But we could build something different. Something you would not expect. His words hung heavy. Some scoffed quietly, but no one laughed aloud. They had seen too much. Cleveland, he continued, was chosen as the first nest. Long ago, in the days when humanity fought itself, we built deep tunnels under our cities. We built bunkers, factories, and shelters to survive our own madness. When we finally looked to the stars, we turned those tunnels into something else. We began the Dragon Project. Murmurs spread quickly. The name itself sounded heavy. The ambassador ignored them. The Dragon Project was not born of greed. It was born of fear. We knew one day the galaxy would come. We knew one day you would judge us, mock us, or worse, destroy us. So we prepared. Quietly, patiently, secretly. For generations we built them, in silence, in shadows. Machines the size of mountains, shaped like the beasts from our oldest myths. Weapons of fire and wings of steel. Images appeared on the council screens, footage from Earth itself, showing dragons rising from cities, from mountains, from oceans. One by one, they unfolded into the sky, their roars shaking the clouds. Gasps filled the chamber. Some delegates flinched, others trembled. None could look away. The ambassador's voice grew colder. You thought we were weak because you saw only the surface of Earth. You saw our wars, our hunger, our mistakes. But you did not see our memory. We remembered every time we were cornered. We remembered every empire that tried to rule us. And we remembered how to fight when there was no hope left. One insectoid leader slammed his claws against the desk. This is madness. No species would waste such resources on myths. The ambassador's eyes narrowed. You call it madness. We call it survival. And now, you call it fear. The chamber fell silent again. The truth could no longer be denied. The dragons were real. They were human. And they had been waiting. On Earth, the skies blazed with their fire. Fleets of dragons patrolled above cities, their wings cutting through clouds, their shadows falling across oceans. The people no longer hid in fear. They looked upward with pride. Children cheered, artists painted the skies, and old veterans saluted as the dragons roared overhead. Humanity had kept it secret too long, but now the whole world understood. They were not weak. They were not defenseless. They had prepared for the day when the galaxy would turn against them. And that day had come. In the alien capitals, panic grew. Generals demanded plans. Scientists searched for answers. Could the dragons be defeated? Could they be copied? No solution came. Every report showed the same thing. No weapon had touched them. No shield had survived them. They were war made alive, a storm forged in metal and flame. Some empires sent messages begging for peace. Others gathered fleets in secret, hoping to strike before more dragons rose. But the truth had already taken root. The galaxy feared Earth now. Back in the council, the ambassador spoke once more. His words were sharp as blades. You thought you could cut us off, starve us, laugh at us. But now you know what we hid. Humanity is not prey. Humanity is not a joke. We are the keepers of dragons. And we will never kneel again. His words echoed through the chamber, and no one dared to answer. Some lowered their heads, others clenched their fists, but none could speak. They all knew what was coming next. On Earth, more signals awakened. Deep in the deserts, in the frozen poles, in the black depths of the oceans, the nests stirred. The dragons were not finished. They were only beginning. The people of Earth stood ready, no longer afraid of the stars, no longer ashamed of their place in the galaxy. The secret was revealed, and it could never be hidden again. Humanity had shown its teeth. The council sat in silence, but every delegate thought the same words. Earth had dragons. and the galaxy would never be the same. The war was no longer over Earth. The alien fleets that had once gathered to mock humanity were shattered, their wreckage burning in orbit. The skies of Cleveland were calm again, but the world beneath them had changed forever. The dragons soared above cities, their wings glowing like rivers of fire. Humanity had revealed its secret, and now the galaxy trembled. In the Galactic Council, voices rose in panic. Some empires demanded peace at once. Others begged to cut ties with Earth before worse things emerged. But a few were stubborn, refusing to bow. They shouted that Earth must be destroyed before its dragons spread beyond the planet. Their words were full of fear, not strength, and the humans knew it. The ambassador sat in silence as chaos filled the chamber. When the noise finally broke, he stood. His voice was steady and cold. "You mocked us. You tried to cage us. Now you want peace because you see what we carry. It is too late for peace. Now you will see Earth's revenge." His words were carried across every channel, recorded on every world. And then the silence of fear returned. On Earth, the dragons prepared for their first flight beyond the home world. Hangars opened across the globe. Massive launch bays hidden under mountains and seas revealed glowing platforms. One by one, the dragons rose into the sky, not hundreds but thousands. Their wings filled the heavens, their fire lit the oceans, and their roars rolled like thunder across continents. The people of Earth watched with pride as their guardians left home. Humanity had always dreamed of the stars. Now they were not going as explorers. They were going as hunters. The first targets were chosen carefully. Planets that had laughed the loudest, colonies that had mocked Earth as a backwater, fleets that had led the attack. The dragons did not move alone. Human warships followed them, sleek and deadly, but even those ships looked small beside the giants. Together they crossed into alien territory. On the first alien world, panic spread as shadows fell from the sky. The dragons descended, their roars echoing across cities. Defenses opened fire, but no shield survived. Beams of plasma burned fortresses into ash. Towers fell, ships exploded, and the air itself turned into fire. The people fled, screaming in terror. They had mocked Earth as weak, but now they saw only wrath. The news traveled faster than the flames. Other empires prepared to surrender, sending messages of peace, begging for mercy. But the humans did not answer. The dragons answered for them. One by one, the worlds that had insulted Earth fell into silence, their skies burned, their armies broken. The galaxy had always seen Earth as a small blue planet, fragile and unworthy. Now they saw it as a nest of fire. And they understood the new truth. To strike Earth was to awaken dragons. Back in Cleveland, the first nest stood silent. The city had survived the awakening, and its people now watched the stars, knowing their defenders were far from home. Families whispered that their children might one day ride the dragons into battle. Artists carved their images on stone, poets wrote songs of fire and sky, and the city that had been ordinary became a legend whispered across the galaxy. In the council chamber, fear grew into despair. Some leaders wanted to form an alliance, to kneel before Earth before it was too late. Others wanted to fight, though their voices shook. None could deny what had already happened. The balance of power had shifted forever. Humanity was no longer the weakest voice. Humanity was the storm. The ambassador stood once more, his eyes sharp as blades. "We do not ask for respect," he said. "We do not ask for mercy. We are taking what is ours. You mocked Earth's weakness. Now you will live in Earth's shadow." His words echoed like a sentence across the galaxy. On the alien worlds, smoke still rose from the ruins. Survivors whispered in fear, warning their children never to speak against humans again. The image of dragons tearing through fleets was burned into their minds forever. Humanity had done what no one thought possible. They had turned their weakness into a weapon, their shame into power. The dragons of Cleveland had taken flight, and the universe would never laugh again. The story was no longer about a fragile planet on the edge of the stars. It was about a world that had been underestimated, mocked, and pushed aside. And when the moment came, Earth did not beg. Earth unleashed fire. The dragons roared across the stars, and with every battle, with every victory, one truth became clear. Humanity had arrived. And the galaxy would never forget the day Cleveland's dragons took flight.